All right, a very interesting coalition between liberals and conservative senators want to audit the Federal Reserve, including its monetary policy. A short time ago, I spoke with these unusual partners. Please take a listen. All right, so is it time to audit the Fed? There's growing bipartisan support for it in Washington. A bill has already passed the House, and now the debate begins in the Senate. Joining us now is Washington's newest odd couple, Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders and South Carolina Republican Senator Jim DeMint. Gentlemen, thank you for helping us tonight.
Larry, you know it's hard for us to stand this close together.
Well, you know, I was going to say, Mr. DeMint, Senator Sanders, I always thought down through the years I was your favorite conservative. Now here you are cuddling up to Senator Jim DeMint.
Well,
I don't understand this. I'm very jealous.
You don't have a vote, Larry. That's the problem.
All right, that's an excellent point. All right, Senator Sanders, let me go to you. What is this bill? You want the GAO to audit the Fed. In your judgment, what are the key points that investors should know about?
Well, it's not just investors, it's the American people. Here you have a situation where the Fed has lent out over $2 trillion in zero interest or near zero interest loans to large financial institutions. And you know what, Larry? You don't know who received that money. I don't know who received that money. The American people don't know. We don't know what the terms are. We don't know how that money was used. I think that's basically insane. We have major arguments on the floor of the Senate about $20 million or $10 million, and now you got $2 trillion, and we don't know who got it and how it was spent. So I think the American people have a right to know.
All right, so they should know about the emergency lending, the 13-3, I presume the collateral as well. Senator DeMint, let me go to you. Am I correct that this bill would also allow the GAO to audit the Fed's minutes and transcripts of their meeting, including the FOMC monetary policy meeting, after a 6-month gap? Is that correct?
As I understand it, and Senator Sanders is more informed on the latest version of this, but I believe that what's necessary to understand what they're doing can be done by the GAO. But Larry, let me make a couple of quick points here. The whole world's economic system rests on our monetary system. The Congress of the United States is given the responsibility to protect our currency and the value of our dollars. We want an independent Fed, but we don't need a secret Fed to do that. Congress is responsible to oversee what's going on. So those who say that this audit is out of line are not looking at the Constitution. This is our job. We don't know what they're doing, and they're spending incredible amounts of money, as Senator Sanders said. And as far as we know, our whole monetary system could be at risk. We don't have any idea what's going on.
Well, you know, for people like myself who for years have argued for more Fed transparency, I've always believed, sir, that it's the people's money, and therefore the people have a right to know about their money. I mean, in some sense, it may just be that simple. Senator Sanders, let me come to you. Am I correct that the GAO, the General Accounting Office, can audit the Fed minutes and the Fed transcripts after a 6-month gap? Right now, the Fed transcripts of the open market meeting are not released for 5 years. So in effect, you would be truncating that to 6 months. Is that the case, sir?
I believe that is the case. But here's the point that I want to make clearly. The opponents of this amendment are going to get on the floor. They're going to say what Sanders and DeMint and others want to do is they want to have Congress running the Fed. They want to politicize the Fed. They want Congress arguing or dealing with monetary policy, raising interest rates or lowering interest rates. That is absolutely not true. What is involved here is not only knowing how trillions of dollars have been spent and who received that, but it is also dealing with what to me seems like just pretty apparent conflicts of interest. For example, you have people like Lloyd Blankstein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, sitting in a meeting where AIG gets $185 billion in loans, and then it turns out that Goldman Sachs gets $13 billion paid back 100 cents on the dollar. I think that's a conflict of interest. I don't think that's a good way to do business, but I think those are the kinds of issues, among many others, that the GAO has got to take a look at.
Well, all right. So, Senator DeMint, as you know, the Fed has gone nuts over this, absolutely nuts over this. They've got their lobbyists up on the Hill. They're inviting senators in to convince them. I believe Senator Judd Gregg has come out against this and others. Do you know, Senator DeMint, in Europe, the head of the European Central Bank, Jean-Claude Trichet, he has a press conference the day after their monetary meetings to inform the public. Now, I don't understand why they can do it in Europe and we can't do it here. And I don't understand why American people don't get to know 6 months later, not that day, not that week, but 6 months later, what the monetary policy is and how the details are and who said what to whom. What is wrong with this?
Well, Larry, the American people don't trust the Federal Reserve, and we need a Federal Reserve that the American people can trust. And what the position I took with Bernanke is this is a way to open things up, to give people confidence in what they're doing, and it does not threaten their independence. It just opens up their books. And I think the reason they're fighting this is they've done a lot of things over the last year that most Americans would not agree with. And they wouldn't be so upset if everything was above board at the Federal Reserve right now.
Well, you're not putting the GAO in the meeting. I mean, we're going to wait 6 months in terms of loans and discounts and in terms of the policy decisions. It's not like you're going to release it the next day.
Larry, despite, again, what the opponents would say, and they are saying this is not Congress doing monetary policy. There is a difference between having an independent Fed and having a Fed which operates in almost total secrecy. Right. And as Senator DeMint said, making decisions that I think the American people would scratch their heads on. But the bottom line is here. We fight every day about $1 million or $10 million appropriations on the floor of the Senate. And now you got trillions of dollars being spent, and we don't know where that money went. I don't think most Americans think that makes sense.
All right, 2 quick questions. One is housekeeping. You're going to bring this to the floor. You're going to get a vote. You need 60 votes. Is that correct? How many do you reckon you have now, Mr. Sanders?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think we have great support. Again, what is really extraordinary about this is not only that people like Senator DeMint and I, who come from very different places politically, but at the grassroots level, we have the largest, we have the AFL-CIO, we have the SEIU, we have MoveOn.org. You don't usually work with these groups. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. That's right.
Well, you've got I was looking at some of the stories here. You've got the Americans for Tax Reform, a very strong conservative group, the National Taxpayers Union, another conservative pro-taxpayer group. You've got Dick Armey's Freedom Works over there. So this is one heck of a coalition.
And I don't usually work with those guys. So it is a very unusual coalition, and I think, you know, we're going to give it our best, and I think we got a shot.
All right, Senator.
Larry, yes? One last point. We saw what happened to our economy when Fannie Mae went under. That's small in comparison to problems at the Fed. Bernanke told us everything was okay just a couple of months before Fannie and Freddie went under. We cannot afford that type of mistake with the Federal Reserve. We need to know what they're doing, and we don't need to manage what they're doing, but we need to know so that we can make sure that in any kind of reforms that are done, that we are informed.
All right, gentlemen, I say this pointedly. I truly wish you all the luck in the world, Senators Bernie Sanders and Jim DeMint. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
All right, and I do wish them all the luck in the world because I support this bill. I know the Fed opposes it. A lot of smart senators oppose it, including my friend Judd Gregg. But I got to tell you, the public has a right to know. It is the people's money. And a 6-month gap is sufficient. After 6 months, release the transcripts of the Open Market Committee so we can all take a look and have a well-informed discussion on interest rates and money creation and loans and advances. All right?